Hey everybody, it's Neil here coming at you with some trade news. Now, you've likely already heard about this, whether it was on Twitter, TV, or during the NHL draft. They kind of talked about it a little bit in Montreal's segment, I believe. But Montreal made a trade with the Columbus Blue Jackets for Josh Anderson in exchange for Max Domi and a third-round pick. Just very quickly, thank you to everyone who came out to tonight's stream. Jason joined me for the stream when we talked hockey. We talked a little bit of Ottawa Senators news, some Calgary Flames news, and of course, we watched the draft together. At least the first 17 picks, anyways. It took forever, so we basically stopped after that. But shout out to everyone who showed up. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you want to join me for a stream coming up, I'm going to try very hard to stream tomorrow night, which is Wednesday night, probably around 7 or 8 Eastern. So if you want to come join me, I'll be looking at Jersey Concepts. The best way to be notified of that is to hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure that bell notification thing is selected and then selected to all. That way you'll be notified as soon as I go live, and we can look at some Jersey Concepts together and react to them. Back to the trade. As a Canadiens fan myself, I was a bit shocked to see this go down. Not necessarily the timing, because Marc Bergevin is known for making big trades right before the draft, but just the assets that were involved here. Max Domi 1-for-1 with Josh Anderson, I would probably question, but Montreal also provided a third-round pick to Columbus for Josh Anderson. It just feels very one-sided in favor of Columbus. It seems like Columbus fleeced Montreal completely. But I'm trying to look at this realistically and trying not to be overcritical on Montreal. But it is hard. So what are the pros for this for Montreal? So they removed Domi, which was going to be a paycheck that they were going to have to sign pretty soon, and a substantial paycheck. And they didn't really want to do that. So they've removed that, which I guess is a plus. Max Domi is a very good player. He can create something out of nothing. It's a very hard skill to come by in the NHL. Not a lot of guys can do it. He's probably he's probably in the top of the league for that specific category. Like, just being able to create something out of nothing. Like, he's a top-notch player there. But that also comes with some negatives as well. He is inconsistent. He's unreliable. He sometimes take penalties that puts the team into unfortunate situations, and at very poorly timed penalties as well. So there's always good and bad with every player, but with Max Domi specifically, one could argue that he was more of a liability than an asset. So removing that liability could be looked at as a pro, but you're also losing an asset at the same time. So I can understand in a way why they want to move Domi out and bring someone else in from that reason. But Josh Anderson, not to flip-flop here, but Josh Anderson is also kind of that player. He does get himself into some trouble penalty-wise as well. He can be considered as maybe undisciplined, but I think he's the more responsible player two-way. And another pro here for Montreal is size. Max Domi is not a big player, but he plays like a big player. But Josh Anderson is a big player that plays like a big player. And what does Montreal lack? Big players, and specifically up front, power forwards. Josh Anderson is pretty much the definition of a power forward. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the best goal scorer, but he's a pretty physical player, and he can play a pretty good two-way game. The good thing, again, for Montreal is contract. So Josh Anderson is going to cost less than Max Domi to sign. Specifically because of the season that Josh Anderson just came off. Now, of course, he had some injuries issues, and he didn't even really play most of the games. I think he only played 26 games, and even in the 26 games that he played pretty poorly. However, prior to that, he has a pretty good stat sheet. It works in Montreal's favor because Montreal can use that to their advantage. Look, Josh, you want long-term. We know this, but we're looking at last year. We know you had injury issues, but still, I mean, even the games you did play, you weren't really that great. So we're not going to throw a bunch of money at you, and he has to realize that. So Montreal is in a really good position from a bargaining table perspective. They're both RFAs, Domi and Anderson. So Montreal knew that Domi was going to be this. and that they would have to spend less of this to get Anderson or to sign Anderson. And Anderson wants long term, and I'm sure Montreal does as well. So I think the Anderson fit in Montreal is going to be very good, but I still think Montreal loses this trade. Even if it was 1-for-1, I would still think that Montreal loses this trade. The offensive talent that Domi brings is pretty special. It's something that Montreal lacks, is goal scoring and creativity in the offensive end. So it's really unfortunate to see a team that struggles offensively give away basically one of their best offensive players. And then we have the third round pick that's also thrown in there. It just makes the trade even worse on Montreal's end. But I think time will be the tell here. I don't want to make a prediction that Anderson will work better in Montreal than Domi will in Columbus. I'm not sure, because when the Domi Galchenyuk trade happened, I felt like Montreal made a mistake. Turns out I was wrong. Domi was that was a win for Montreal. And if you look at it from that perspective, well, if Montreal traded Galchenyuk for Domi, then that means Montreal got Josh Anderson for Domi or for Galchenyuk in a third. So that kind of makes me feel better, but still, I think Montreal loses this trade, unfortunately. Columbus has to make the decision of how much they want to sign Domi for, because Domi wants this. This is his time to get paid, basically. I don't think he's going to want a bridge contract. I think he's going to want close to full term. He wants a long contract. So Columbus is going to have to pony up, and Montreal just wasn't ready to, as far as the books go. I think this is a trade that's like I see Marc Bergevin make this trade, and I think he can't be done. Like, this is just a stepping stone, right? So I think this is a small lateral move, and something else bigger is in play here. There was rumors that Montreal is going after a right winger from the Western Conference. I talked a little bit about it in Discord with a couple of the Discord members. Personal plug: if you're not part of the Discord, there's a link down below in the description. If you'd like to have hockey conversations, I would love to have you join. But I kind of theorized that, okay, well, Laine and Montreal have been connected a little bit, but who else could Montreal target? And there's some other names thrown around out there. And then I was looking at Anaheim's cap friendly page and their cap situation, and they are in need of some cap relief. Well, who do they have on right wing that could be rumored? A couple names, but Rickard Rakell was one of them. Rickard Rakell is a natural goal scorer. He's not a small guy, so he would fit in Montreal if they're looking for size and a natural goal scorer. The only problem is consistency. Rickard Rakell is, I would say 2 years ago, one of, if not the most underrated player in the NHL. Now, it's been tough. He's had a tough past 2 years. So I'm not sure if Rakell is the actual person that Montreal's trying to get. I would be very happy if that was the case, because I'm a big fan of Rickard Rakell. He's been a fan of the channel for a while. But I'm scared to know what they would give up for Rickard Rakell. It seems very risky if they did, hypothetically, get Rickard Rakell, and they gave up a huge asset to get him. Okay, well, you're giving up a big asset to get a lower asset in Anderson, and then you're going to give up another big asset to get another risky asset back in Rakell, who's coming off 2 bad years, and Anderson, who's coming off 1 bad year. That's a lot of risk. So I don't know. Both are still young, and both can be molded. So fingers crossed. But I like this move for Columbus. This was a pretty good move if they can sign him for decent money. I like this one. But yeah, there's been a lot of news coming out recently of other trades and other signings and other random things. I'll probably make a recap video maybe on Sunday, maybe Monday, depending on some other things that happened. It really depends on how much news we get and how much big news we get. It's like if there's a massive trade, I'm going to talk about it in its own individual video, of course. But yeah, we'll talk some news this weekend. Thinking about making a video maybe on the Ottawa Senators jerseys and potentially the Calgary Flames decision to go with the retro as full-time. Still churning some ideas in the head, so if you want to see any videos from me in the future, we'd love to know your feedback down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know about this trade too. Who do you think wins this trade? Who loses? Is this a short-term trade that we can say, you know what, this team wins right away, Columbus, they win? Or should we wait a couple of years and look back on this trade and then really make our decision? Let me know what you think. Thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.